2021 committee meetings to order. Commissioners, if you haven't already turned your mics on, would you please do so? At this time, we'll recognize Chairman Tim Horner of the Justice Center Jail Project Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this time, I'll call the Justice Jail Center Project Committee to order. If there's anyone who wishes to address this committee, may do so at this time.
Can you hear me? My name's Edna Green. I live at 4981 Cameron Road. I reiterate to you folks that we need a jail. I was reading the post from Commissioner Cutshaw this afternoon. We need a jail. I'll commend each and every one of you. We need a jail. We just don't need a justice center, and we don't need the additional offices for Teresa West. If you could justify that, I'll get behind every one of you. And I don't think you can. I was told today how that was going to be financed. Been taxed ever since I've been old enough to work, children. I started at 95 cents an hour. And for you to waste the taxpayers' money with a justice center and additional offices for Teresa West, all of you that vote for this ought to be took out and whooped. Now, I know some of you roll your eyes, shake your heads. Thank God I'm entitled to my opinion. We're still into the constitutional, and I thank God for it tonight. You may not like my attitude, but at least I've got the privilege of speaking. But you folks that vote for this, and I want to tell you, I thank God for you that have stood against it. And I hope you continue to stand and run, and I hope God blesses you. The rest of you, well, as my preacher preached the other day, if God be for you, who be against you? I feel sorry for you. I'm not your judge. I see how you vote, and that's enough for me, to be honest with you. But you folks need to think about what you are doing. Some of you are young enough to have grandchildren. Some of you are like me. You've got grandchildren and you've got great-grandchildren probably on the way. You do realize that our great-grandchildren will end up paying for this catastrophe because you're pushing forward with Mayor Britton's dream. It's my nightmare, but it's his dream. You know, we call it the Taj Mahal because we need a basic jail. You've had people come in, especially the Sheriff Jonathan, and tell you that he couldn't staff what he had. So I want to know what makes you think that he can staff a 4-story monstrosity like this. Now, as far as I know, with the exception of Commissioner Doty, and I don't mean to call you out, sir, I'm just being blunt. He's been in the jail often. He's worked in there. I think he has a better knowledge than most of you, to be honest with you. And I'm not putting you on a pedestal, sir. I'm just being blunt tonight. But the rest of you can holler your research. I'd like to see your research. If you've looked at 9 designs, I wish you would share that with us little peons out here. Because evidently we don't know nothing and we don't hear nothing. And you were voted in to serve the people. You were not voted in to serve anyone else. And I think most of you know that. And some of you have done an outstanding job of standing and saying no. But some of you need to wake up and smell the coffee, as the old saying is. But you need to be more honest with folks. Instead of lying around and trying to dig a hole to bury this community in, you need to wake up. I don't know how many of you realize how many factories we have lost in the last several years. I'm the survivor of the Mile Industries Anchor Brush. My husband is a survivor of the Berkline Corporation, which was 3 plants. Anchor was 3 plants. Other plants, like, let me think of the name of it, it's up on the east end, Lear, are skinning down. So is Molly, by what I hear. Where do you think the jobs are going to come from to take care of this monstrosity? I'd like to hear your answer. For you that have children coming into the workforce, you really think they're going to stay in the Hamlin County with the rates that you're going to put on them? I feel sorry for the ones of you that will not stand up for the citizens. I feel sorry for you. And I just have one final word. My grandchild has the best saying I know of. She gets up, She says, no, no, no. That's the way the jail is. No, no, no. We need a jail, not a justice center, and certainly not new offices for Miss West. Nothing against her, but I can't see nothing wrong with hers. But please wake up and smell the coffee. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to address?
Darrell Arwood, L Road, Morristown. I've read a lot of answers that a lot of commissioners sent to people this week, talk about how they have studied different designs. Go back and look at the videos, all the meeting. Where are these studies? If y'all have had them, they should have been done right here in public. And if you've done them privately, you might want to look into a little thing called the Sunshine Law if you've discussed county business outside this public forum. The other thing I want to address is you're talking about how it can get more expensive the longer we wait. Well, I'm going to use Mr. Hahn here as an example. He drives like a beautiful vehicle out here, and I am quite sure he paid a pretty penny for that thing. Me, myself, could never pay that much for a vehicle.
It's
But
9
it's
years
not my
old.
money. It's Mr. Hahn's, and it's his choice if that's how he wants to spend it. But y'all are spending our money, not yours. It should be our decision how it's spent. And if you try to say, well, we're doing this because it's going to cost more later, it may. We're aware of that. But that's our money. That's our choice. We don't come into your house and tell you how to spend your money. Don't sit up here and dictate to us how we're going to spend ours. That's not right.
Mr. Arwood, that truck was 9 years old and over 100,000 miles when I got it. Well, it is, but I didn't spend a lot of money on it.
I'm Peggy Howell, 504 Howell Road, Morristown. This past Friday, the garbage truck picked up my garbage. And I want to emphasize the truck because the person driving was in a safe, secure place. He didn't have to smell anything. He didn't have to get out and worry about the weather. The job was done very efficiently. And I bring that up because what if we had a jail that would do that? We are having difficulty manning the one we have right now, and I agree with your statement. We need a jail. Not quite a Taj Mahal, but plans have been put forth and about having one that takes fewer people to manage. And I think we should revisit that. Because my garbage, the brush you pick up, the street cleaner, they are doing things efficiently with technology. And I think that's a place we should go and not depend on the 90, 95, or 100 we'll need. And we can't staff what we have. And if you look at police forces and jails around the country, they can't. And we're asking for trouble, in my opinion, for doing that. Also, what if 8 people had said no to Mr. Britton's proposal about let's put the two together? Then they would have eventually been separated, as it should have been. And I want to point that out to you because the people who speak, the people who come forward, and the rest of the community, we talk to our friends, and we're the ones who pull that lever and see if you are representing us as should be. So I would like those things to be revisited, and thank you for the time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Hello, Commission. My name is Janie Anderson. I live at 2238 Liberty Downs Drive. I'm also a city resident, as long as being a county taxpayer. I would ask that you all would please relook at the plans to do the jail. I am taxed double My taxes have gone up this year because of all the tax increases that we are facing. Whether you all realize it or not, the city of Greenville has entered into an agreement with Ballad Health to purchase Ballad East, to turn that into a new judicial system and a jail. It is a multi-story existing building. We have a building across the street from Morristown Hamlin Hospital that would be perfect. It's already built. Do we want the former Lakeway Hospital to turn into a Bradley's Hardware, to where it is destroyed and has to be brought down in 30 years because of it rotting? Or do we want to be able to put it back to use and let it be used for what it was originally intended for? Even though it would be used for the upkeep of taking care of prisoners, it would be put back to use and revitalized. Please look at doing something of revitalization or going to a one-story jail. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I can get up 3 times the charm. Karen R. Wood, 1501 Eller Road. You've heard enough from other people. I'm not going to reiterate on that we just need a new jail. We do. But we don't need what is planned. But for your special called meeting a week ago over these same issues, I have to say as to how absolutely shocked I am that none of you, seemingly, and especially your chairman, had no idea what your own rules were. And then I'd like to know, why in the world ask the mayor about your rules? You don't work for him, you work for us. Come on. Really? Did that sink in? What I just said? You work for us, you don't work for him. There needs to be a separation between the mayor and the commission. And that don't exist here in this situation. We're getting down to the point now that in reading responses back to various people asking questions, and I do appreciate the few that bothered to answer emails and answer questions, but still yet on some of the information that has been divulged, if there has been a look at discussion of 9 different plans, when and where, it didn't happen in a public forum. And as my own husband said, if this was various things done privately, we got a problem. There's such a thing as the Sunshine Law. We're getting to the point now, and as how many times as quite a few of us have stood up here and addressed 14 people and have been said, we're not going to answer any questions. We can stand up here and make comments, but that's it. We can't ask questions. We don't get uniform, complete answers. We get answers that lead to more questions. We are to the point right now that we, the public, are wanting a meet and greet, open, where we get to ask the questions and want some answers. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Bonnie Bullington, 317 Stubblefield Street, Whitesburg. Thank you once again for forcing me to dox myself with my address. I appreciate it. Accordingly, you all have looked at 9 different jail projects, and this is what you came up with as being the best. So I have to ask, is it because this specific 4-story jail is the best for Hamlin County, or is it because by building this jail, you get the fancy Justice Center? I've said it before, and I'll say it again. This has never been about giving Hamlin County a jail that it desperately needs. This is about building this fancy Taj Mahal Justice Center that can make you all look really good. And you can't see the forest for the trees. You can't see that 10 years down the road just how bad you all are going to look when this tanks, because it will. Hamlin County can't sustain this kind of building. Now, you've used the excuse the can's been kicked down the road long enough. We can't kick it anymore. Why not? Why can't you kick it one more time to go back and take what you've learned from we the people, what we've told you, and how we feel about all this money of ours that you're spending, this debt you're putting us in? Why can't you go back to the drawing table and say, okay, if that's what they want, let's give them a jail. Well, let's forget the Justice Center. Started out, you were just going to build the jail and renovate the Justice Center now, and that would have been fine. And now all of a sudden, no, that's not good enough. That don't make you guys look special enough. Well, I think it's time you guys work to make us look special.
Anyone else?
Lisa Espinosa, 2645 Mountain View Drive. You've heard that we don't want a $93 million jail. Basically, it rounds up what it's going to cost our town of Morristown. We talked about the cost, how are we going to maintain the size of the jail, costing more money to house these prisons, clothe them, feed them, not to mention medical expense, and so on. And I didn't even mention the staff and hiring more correctional officers to staff this huge jail. Property taxes will go up, home insurance will go up, and if you don't own a home, the landlord will raise the people's rent to pay their property tax. This affects everyone. Our economy is bad right now, really bad. Some businesses are not operating at 100%. Some fast food places only have their dried food open and their lobbies closed. Stores, their inventories are low and their shelves are not fully stacked. Now I wonder if you are blind to what is going on with our economy. Maybe you all need a physical exam or see a doctor because you're not hearing us. You're not seeing what's going on with our economy. Something needs to happen, and it's not a Taj Mahal jail. We need to come to a compromise. What we're going to do, how we're going to get a jail solution, not to cause more problems. I myself and other people would like to see a breakdown of this jail, such as material, wood, cost, paint, and a complete invoice on everything, and the cost of labor, which labor may be high, as we all know. We can cut down prices with some of the labor of painting be done by the inmates. The cleanup work can be done by inmates. There are always ways to cut costs. All you got to do is just try. I would like to solve the solution. I would like to know what the yearly payment for this jail is going to be. And I would like to know about property tax, if we can make a certain percentage so it doesn't go up sky high. I really hope you don't do this to the people in this town. Like I said, it's the wrong time to do this. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Carl Murphy, 1101 West Rose City. I always read this because I keep it as a receipt, since nobody else can make anything out of what I said because it's here. I attended the last meeting as I heard how our vote was headed. Plus, some can't wait to spend $100 million plus of taxpayers' money to pay for some overpriced jail. I sit on the one that we're getting $1 million over plus $1,100,000 and all of this stuff, is that's going to be set on the same property that we paid for before. Now, what I heard and observed was worse than I thought. One high official tried to push a vote through that wasn't legal by law. Another called for a vote to suspend this law. I can't believe it. I couldn't believe such things are real, much less that they were tried in this building. Think about it. Just think about it and ask why. My opinion, our present county mayor must let all county taxpayers paying for this ridiculous 100 million plus jail, why he's pushing so hard to get this vote through. What's a rush? I like to know why. Also, what's his explanation just why we the people can't have a one-level jail that could save us, yes, us, 30 million bucks. Explain on paper all the advantages of building a 4-story building that's costing us a fortune just for a jail. Please explain just what jail is for and why so fancy. We need to know that. Do our taxpayers, commissioners, realize how much more maintenance will be required on a 4-story jail? This is a jail, not a home, store, theater, or a hangout. It's still just a jail. If the top floor has major problem, it will affect the other 3. It can and will happen if you put that in. 100 million plus from our pockets and savings is plumb scary, if you know what that word is. This is too much money to have 14 commissioners, one mayor, making this decision. Right would be let all voters make this call. It would keep it honest. Let us vote our way after the new sheriff is voted in. Give him a shot at it. I've been told one high officer takes one into the office at a time when some major voting comes up. I never seen this, just heard. But when I left the last meeting, I did observe something similar to what I just said at another set of doors outside. One that talked to here was met with a high echelon man right out there, and I thought that was the wrong thing to do. If you got something to say it in here. If you're not man enough or lady enough to say it in here, keep it to yourself. Be honest with this thing. There's more money coming out of here than we ever thought of. And I've been in Morristown a long, long, long time. And I ain't never heard of somebody trying to make, as that lady said a minute ago, some kind of museum or something out of a jail. Figure out what the jail's for and use it for that.
Thank you, sir.
With you.
Anyone else?
Copy 8220 East AG Highway, Whitesburg. Well, my offer's still open for y'all to come to work with me, 12-hour shifts. I mean, you all are telling me what I need, but you won't come and see what I need. And if you all don't do our job, you don't spend 12 hours with 100 or something inmates,
How do you honestly know what I need? A little 15-minute walkthrough? Y'all don't know nothing. You ain't seen nothing. And honestly, Thomas is probably about the only one that truly knows what we do on a daily basis. And it's sad. I mean, you know, how I was raised was you respect law enforcement. You do as they ask you to do, and that's how you're supposed to. That's how you're supposed to conduct yourself. Well, unfortunately, we're not that lucky. We get spit on. We get to fight. We get feces thrown on us and everything. I don't see none of y'all willing to come and do that. And to build this jail this size, I'm sorry. What are you going to tell these little old people that's living on a fixed income? They're having to choose now between food or medicine. What are you going to do for them? I mean, hey, are you all going to be able to pay their bills? I mean, because I can honestly say my daughter's had to have 2 open heart surgeries. And you know what? If she didn't have me to help her and support her in this, she'd be living under a bridge somewhere. You think somebody's going to take my spot to take care of my child? So what are y'all going to tell these elderly people? I'm more worried about them than I am myself. And the jail has become, we are a mental hospital. Because there are no places to put mentally ill people. And we're not equipped for that. We do the best we can. Our nursing crew does the best they can. But when you try to get somebody that really has mental issues sent to another facility, well, guess what? You're bed number 900 and whatever. They do not take them directly straight away. We have become social workers, mental health workers, along with everything else we do. It's a tough job. I love my job. I love what I do. I like to help people. And I honestly think some people you can help. You can't help them all, but you can some of them. But just truly think. Put yourself in the place of what these little elderly people. I mean, I come from a farming community. I was raised on a farm half my life. I'm part of a political family also, so I know how it goes. You can't please everybody. I understand that. But you always try to meet in the middle of the road. Because just think about these elderly people. I mean, we don't have a homeless shelter now for them. And I just don't want them to see little elderly folks out. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name is Tony Stradalzulo. First, I want to start off with, we have 14 of you up here. Honestly, I only know a few of you. And you either stand out because you're for something, or you stand out because you're against it. Now, this side of the room seems to be extremely vocal. When I turn to this side, we have a select few. We have 3 in the middle that are vocal, and then we have you, Mr. Reed, and you, Mr. Huntsman, that we never really get to hear your thoughts, your ideas. We get to hear what your vote is, but we don't know why. A little explanation would go a long ways, because you hear what everybody else has to say. And we would like to know a little bit about you, why you want to vote the way you want to vote. What kind of research have you done? What have you found? Maybe you can verbalize it to us a little bit differently than what the others have so that maybe we can get a better understanding because we're missing something. Mr. Irwin, Mr. Ward, same with both of you. You're against it, Mr. Ward, and we know that through your votes, but you haven't spoken up on why you are against it. And maybe some of the other commissioners need to know that. We have no idea why you're for the jail. You've never voiced that. You make your votes, you cast your votes, but the citizens don't understand why. We have probably two of the most important people sitting in this building that could have a lot of resources for the 14 of you all. We have Miss Laws, we have Mr. Mullins. They're both in that facility. They're both going to be running whatever facility you decide to build. We want to know where they stand. Where are their thoughts? Where are their ideas? Where are their wants? What are their needs? And not one time has any one of your commissioners ever said, I spoke to these two. This is what they have to say. We haven't had that, nor have they volunteered to come up here to tell us. If that was my job, I would be up here every meeting saying, hey, look, this is the new developments. This is what we talked about. We've had people voice their concerns. This is what we need. This is what we don't need. These are what we want out of a new facility. We haven't got that. They can come up here as citizens and voice their opinions. And I think the citizens would like to know, because we only hear what we can see on the unreliable news sources of what is going on in there and of what wants to be brought out to the mainstream and what doesn't gets kept away. We've heard that you have done researches, numerous research. That was 3 and 4 years ago. A lot has changed in those 3 and 4 years. That research is old, where you don't have as many inmates going into the system and staying in the jail as we used to. I have spoken to a few bondsmen. They all tell me the same thing. It's going less and less to incarceration. We don't need to incarcerate. We need to get people to be a better person in society, not a better inmate in a new facility. It doesn't matter that we're giving them a new facility and them possibly to be safer because it's not going to be overcrowded. Months ago, there was a facility up north that had a riot. They were burning things. It was out the windows. There was sheets and blankets and all types of stuff. It took days to get under control. Why you think can't happen here is beyond me. And if you all don't know what I'm talking about, you all didn't do your research, your due diligence. You didn't look at something negative that happened within the jail system. And I hope that you all can maybe step back and say, you're right. 3-4 years ago, things were different. A lot has changed, and we need to go ahead and do our research on what is happening today. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Emily Reitnauer, 1200 West 6 North Street. I have 2 main points to make. Over a year ago, I wrote a petition that I delivered to all of you all. I don't know if you read it or not. I read most of it here too fast. You probably couldn't understand it, but it was about the need to address our pretrial detention problem that we have a lawsuit about. It's now a class action lawsuit. The county will not win the lawsuit. I hope you all are aware of that. If you're not, I hope you go talk to the lawyers about it. It's very possible that the county is going to have to pay a lot of money to settle this lawsuit. And I wanted to point out now that Judge Collins has publicly admitted to you all what I told you a year ago, that our bail practices in Hamlin County are not lawful. Hamlin County has not been following the law. We talk about public safety and accountability, and that is in theory the point of this jail, to keep the public safe and maybe to hold people accountable. I am wondering who is going to hold the county accountable for ruining the lives of people who have been incarcerated unjustly. We don't need a 600-bed jail. A 600-bed jail will allow the unjust incarceration that is happening in Hamlin County to continue. I also want to say an unspoken truth here, and this is no offense to Mr. Horner, but it is a conflict of interest for a bail bondsman to be the chairman of this committee. I hope that you all will consider this as well. Instead of building extra human cages in preparation for a future explosion of our jail population, we need a homeless shelter. We need detox facilities. People should not be detoxing in jail. They need medical attention and to not be in jail and to not be forced to detox and then go out on the street again, where it's far more likely that they will overdose after detoxing in such an abrupt way. I hope that you all have thoroughly researched that phenomenon as well. Also, there's the problem of getting drugs in jail. Like, that's rampant. People get drugs in jail. I don't know why or how that happens, but it happens. So, yeah. The second thing I want to say is that we don't know the future. We don't know what Hamlin County is going to need in 50 years. We only know what Hamlin County needs today. Today, we need to get people out of our dungeon as quickly as possible, and there are several ways to do that, including simply not arresting people who are not a threat to the community. Cite and release, continuing that. I debated whether to bring this up, but I'm going to. You know, our beautiful skywalk in Morristown looked like a great idea, and we spent a lot of money on it. And then my grandparents like to joke and tell me about how the people who made those decisions to spend all that money didn't foresee shopping malls coming just a couple decades later, and our downtown was abandoned, and the skywalk didn't look like such a good investment. Now, we love it. It's great. I'm glad that we have it, but would we do it again in hindsight? Consider that in regard to this jail. Give us what we need right now, not more. A small, modest jail, not a big, pretty building. I love big, pretty buildings, but
Thank you.
that's not what we need. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Rob Burke, 721 Oak Circle. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. As you have heard from several people tonight, nobody, at least on this side of the wall, is interested in this Justice Center project. And I would understand at least some of your commitment to this project if this was a small group, a very similar sector of the community that comes up here and says the same thing over and over. If the only people in this audience tonight that spoke were the people from my household and my household only, it would make sense that you would imagine, because it's true, that the people there would not be, my family would not be a good representative of the entire community at large. And your job is to vote on what is best for the entire community at large. However, you can see from behind me, not just tonight, we do this every single time the Justice Center is on the agenda. People show up, and they're showing up more and more. And they're showing up from different walks of life. Last meeting, we had someone who just moved to the community from out of state. And we've also heard from a gentleman here that has said he has lived in Morristown for a long, long, long time. We have people here that are white-collar folks, blue-collar folks, and everything in between on that spectrum. Financially, we have people that live on a fixed income that cannot afford another tax increase, and those that are doing very well, and it won't affect them as much. We have people that are parents to children that are school-aged. We have people that are grandparents to children that are school-aged. We have, what I want you to see is that behind me right now, and in all of the meetings that have happened up until this point, this is a representative group of people of what our community exists. This is not a small sector, I mean, small in number, but it matches what our community looks like outside these walls. And if we are representative in here, and every single one of them comes up to this podium time and time again and says that this is not what we want. This is not how we want to spend our money. Because I get it. A tax is a necessary evil I wish we could do away with, but it's necessary for now. But it's still our money, and we still should have a say in how that money is spent. And every single person comes up and gives you, you've heard them all, so I'm not going to repeat them all the reasons why they don't want this. Why it's not best for them, why it's not best for their family, why it's not best for their grandchildren, great-grandchildren, and to come. But yet, you dig your heels in, many of you. In fact, the only people that I have ever heard that is interested in this Justice Center from this side of the podium are the people that are either set to make money on this, the construction guys, the financial guys, all those people that I expect would make money on this. They're doing work. They should make money on this if that's what the project is. That makes sense. If I do work, I expect a check afterwards. Those are the only people that come up here talking about it when you ask them to, or the mayor, and several of you. Those are the only people that I have seen that say, yes, I want to do this. So it leads me to believe and question, really, why? Why are you so set on this? Why, if the community as a whole is here, representatively speaking, and sharing that they're not interested in this, why are you not doing your job in representing your ward and representing your sector? Instead, just focus solely on what you want to see on this. I don't understand it. The people behind me don't understand it. And I want you to know, for me personally, because I'm only going to speak for me and my family, because I can't speak for anybody else in this room, nor will I ever try, that it is not me speaking that I am against you, I'm against you. I only know most of you from what I see at this meeting. I am not against any of you. What I am against is you ignoring my request, as I feel like that is why you're here. That's why you were voted in this position. That's why you are sitting in this chair in this office right now. So if you can come and give me good reason why you have elected to do something different, I could understand that. But I'm not seeing those good reasons. I'm not seeing those alternatives. Instead, I'm seeing, yeah, I hear you, however, and really no discussion behind why the however is better for our community. So I would like for you to take this opportunity to consider not just what each individual is saying, but look at it big picture, that these individuals represent our county and our community, and I expect that you would do what's best interest of the community as a whole. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
My name's Linda Noe, Joe Stevens Road. We've heard a lot of serious discussion tonight. So I'm going to start with a little levity. Headline: Officials: Process on new jail ready to accelerate. And it quotes, a plan has emerged to build a $35 million facility on land adjacent to the Hamlin County Justice Center and fund $23.8 million in school improvements. Accelerate. The date on this article, Tuesday, August 15th, 2017, over 4 years ago. Accelerate. And now you act like 10 days is the end of the world. And I want to echo what so many people have said. Yes, there's a representative group here, and there are many people out there in your districts, each district, across Hamlin County. Their voice should be heard. And I'm going to show you how you can let their voice be heard. I'll let you know what it says. Kind of like being in school. Take one and pass it back. The state law, and you'll remember when you first talked about the bond issue back in 2019, and then you had to come back and redo it in 2020 because you'd messed it up. You had an option then of calling for an election, a referendum, just like the wheel tax referendum, just like the sales tax referendum. You can have, and you can call for a bond referendum. Well, even though no petition was attempted this last time, you can still call for a referendum. Read that highlighted sentence. So if you do want to know what the people in your district want and support, let's have a referendum. You can have it set it up in 60 or I think it's 75 to 90 days, or you can simply set it up with your primary elections May of 2022. It would not be the end of the world to wait until May of 2022 and let the people vote. That's what always, if you had done this back in 2020, you would already know what the people want rather than what you say they want. Or I hear people claiming we've got a mandate to do this. I can assure you the people that elected you in 2018 didn't know that they were giving you a mandate to spend $100 million. They had no idea. They probably thought 30 to 35 million. Please let the people vote. Please don't proceed with this. Please go out and get the information and the figures on the one-level jail. I know you've got all these studies and you've had all these different proposals that have come out at different times and different meetings, or maybe the you know, it used to be the jail committee, and then it was the advisory committee, and all these little different groups, some of whom you never knew when they met. But if you care, and if you're concerned about this project, let the people vote. It's that simple. Don't make it hard. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Archer, 1502 Allen Road. I wasn't going to say anything tonight, but after I've sat here and listened to several people speak, and the point that Ms. Noe just made makes sense. Last time I was here, I mentioned I had retired and was working for a friend in his restaurant in Sevierville, and I've had the opportunity to be around certain people in Sevier County that have asked me questions. You know, what's going on in Hamlin County? And these are political people. Guys, you all are the laughing stock in Sevier County right now. And I hate to say it. You know, that's a county that can afford to build a $100 million Justice Center and not blink an eye. And they sit back and say, why would you want to waste that much money to house inmates? And there was one thing that came out in conversation. You want 600 beds? What else are they going to house? Are you going to go for more state inmates to make more money? Or are you going to try to get federal? If that's what you're doing underneath the rugs, let me tell you something. You're asking for trouble. Because when you start bringing those people here that are going to be locked up 5 to 10 years, their families are going to come. Your crime's going to increase. Hamlin County alone issues over $1.5 million in food stamps from the feds. That's going to go up. You know, you're looking at things that's not read into this. And just because you may make money over here on this column doesn't mean you're not going to pay it out in something else in the county. Your crime rate will go up because they're going to follow wherever son Joe or Daddy Bud goes to jail, so they'll be close so their kids can come visit them on visiting day. You know, there's more to this than just a big, nice building. You know, you bought the Hell House. You know, let Teresa use some of that for office space. I mean, I have nothing against Teresa. I like her. She's a very nice person. I have nothing against any of you. But this is a little steep for a county that don't have the money. And you've got people in other counties talking about you. I'd rethink that. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Glenn Holden, 8150 West Point Drive. I think we need a referendum. I've lived in this town all my life. I've worked, I've paid taxes, and I've worked all my life. We need to let the people decide on what kind of jail we need. And I'm for a one-level jail. And I'm sorry that we haven't had a cost study that we can know really what a one-level jail costs. We're supposed to have check everything to see where we can get the cheapest and the most price that taxpayers can afford. A jail is supposed to be a jail, not a motel for Debbie cakes and TVs. Put them to work. Give them a job. Let them clean the jail up so it won't be nasty. We need a referendum. That's all I've got to say. We need the people to vote on this, not you all to decide. The people need to decide.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Chairman Horner, I'd like to speak. I've heard a lot about the referendum that we've had in the past. Commissioner Neesmith and this group right here try to get a petition to go around town to sign to put on a referendum. You didn't get nowhere near the vote or the signature on that petition. Chairman, does the commission remember that? They couldn't get enough signatures on it.
You got 20 days?
Excuse me, I didn't interrupt you all. Now, there were not enough signatures. It was out there to sign, and it didn't happen. Now, as far as the taxes, I would say the taxes for this last 25 years, a lot of y'all couldn't tell me what the last 25 years of taxes went toward. One of them might. But I bet you the rest of you don't. You'd be surprised what your last 25 years of taxes went for. Now, as far as jails, I've heard safety issues, so I'm not. I've read articles this weekend of inmates being transported from a jail. Single level, because the courtrooms are not there with them, right there next to that jail. It's been unreal, the articles you can read of a number of officers that's been killed by inmates who escaped, stole the guns. So you're going to tell me that a one-level jail is not, in that Justice Center with the courtroom building attached to it, is safe. But when you transport somebody and those lives are being taken, you tell me it's worth that, saving that $30 million? Is it worth it? Just like someone said a while ago, you go tell them families when they get killed. It's happened in Putnam County back in 2018. Read an article, 2017. Man being handcuffed to go to jail or to the court, which is downtown. You have to transport them all day long. That takes officers. What you do, he steals a gun from the court officer. He shoots 2 deputies. One is totally blind right now for the rest of his life. The other one had to retire because of his injuries. Oh, and by the way, that was Coffee County. That was Coffee County. That's how safe that is down there. That was told to me by the sheriff down there today and the mayor. So when y'all want this one-level jail without the courtrooms attached to it, and then someone gets their life taken because they're transporting, then you all go tell them people. Go tell the moms and dads, wives. You do that. We're building a safe jail and efficient. Now, that jail in 2015 that was built in Coffee County, both the sheriff and the mayor told me today, which I have in the past, we were down there, Esco Jarnick and all of us down there, we visited Coffee County. He told me today, in a year or two's time, the 400 bed maxed it out. Now he's down to 350 now. And by the way, the mayor said we're going to build a justice center or a courtrooms out there now. We don't know where we're going to put them. And we're going to put them out there next to it. It had 25 acres. 12 or 14 acres was made into wetlands. You can't build on it. So you can say what you want to say about a multi-story jail with the jail justice center being built together. But I can tell you this much. I've read a whole lot of stories about people getting killed, deputies in the line of duty, because they were being transported, which by the way takes more employees, and got killed. So there again, when it happens down the road, if you get this one level jail that you want, then one of you all go tell the family. That's all I have, Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, please, sir. There's been a lot going on here lately about the jail and spending of the jail. And yes, I'm against spending the amount of money that's come up for this jail by a long shot. But Keith Ben brought up about staffing. Staffing is not done by the building. It is done by the numbers of inmates. That's what the state told us. That's what they told us all along. It really is minute, the difference in numbers. And by minute, it's in single digits difference in the multi-story versus a single level, because it is done off of the numbers of inmates that are incarcerated at that time. As far as the Justice Center now, I'm the one that asked Sheriff Jarnigan, sitting right here. I said, Sheriff, can you transport those between buildings? He said, no. Quote, that would be a nightmare. And so we do have to attach it in a way. Myself, my vote, and I'd like for all to think about, is going back to reattaching to the existing Justice Center. The reason that I went with a new Justice Center to begin with was that our state had informed us that we could not attach to that Justice Center because of our juvenile holding facility. Because it's grandfathered in now to being in the same building with adults, but that we couldn't attach the new one. Now they have changed that. State legislature has looked over it, they've changed it, and we can attach to it. We can make it to where it is one building that the two are basically attached with a corridor, walkway, however you want to do it. You can put extra offices out to the side, but we don't need this huge Justice Center right now. When this first came about and the state was telling us that you can't attach to it, yes, we did need it, and I supported it at that point. Things have changed, and I'm asking that you gentlemen just think about this, and let's try to cut a little bit out of it right now while we still can before we move further.
Mr. Chairman, let me add to that. I don't know what we've talked about several times about certifying the jail if it's attached to the old building. It was my understanding we can't certify the new jail if it's attached to the old building, even with a walkway. So that kind of makes that a moot point. State won't certify it, and again, that's insurance, lawsuits, et cetera. Someone else brought up bringing in state prisoners. We're trying to make money off of that. Sorry, we actually lose money on state prisoners. That's open information. You can look that up. It's not, we don't lose much, but they don't pay hardly as much as it does to maintain a prisoner. So those are things that are just not there. This is information that we have, that we've tried to share, and you understand from our perspective why we're leaning the way we're leaning. I know you got a ton more questions than that, but those are just a couple of things, you know, along with these gentlemen, we can clear up tonight.
Mr. Naismith.
I've got a few things I want to bring up. I want to clarify this referendum. I brought it up 3 times. Last time I brought it up, I got an apology from the mayor. I got an apology from Jeff Gardner that the county can instigate a referendum, just like they did in 2001 on the wheel tax. We wouldn't have to have 3,000 names on it. I headed that thing up. I got 1,700 people on a referendum. I couldn't get, in less than 2 weeks' time, that's all I could get. But a referendum still can be put on this ballot. Ballot's not been set yet. We don't know who's going to be running for office. So we do have time to get this referendum on there. That's one thing. The next thing is been some comments about how much money would we save if we take the Justice Center away from the jail. And at one time, back several months ago, we could save $20 million. Mr. Huntsman asked me about that. And I don't know what the figures are today. Does anybody know?
Where did you get the $20 million figure? I had heard 17.
I asked a question in a meeting, how much could we save if we didn't do the Justice Center? The first figure was 19 million, and the last figure I heard was $20 million if we don't build the Justice Center.
Yeah, who's that from?
What?
Who were those figures from?
Mr. Britt.
Mr. Britt? Okay. Last I'd heard was 17 million, but.
Well, the first one was 19, and then the next one was 20.
Okay.
Okay, another question that some people asked me to look into is, what's the minimum size of a jail cell?
35 square feet.
And it's 35
square feet.
35 square feet per person. But this jail doesn't have any single cells in it. So one person would, if you isolate him, with the exception of, I think, six other cells that they are isolated. I don't know what size they are. I've never been told, but these are going to be 70 square feet, 7 by 10, 2 men.
Mm-hmm.
So if you got one man, he's just going to have to stay in a cell with 70 square feet, which is small. If you know what 7 by 10 is, I got a bathroom like that.
Mm-hmm.
So, the next thing was, how many solitary confinement cells are there? The last I heard, there were 6 in this jail. If anybody can answer that, and I'd like to know what size they are. Let's see what else here. There's a big issue on the stairways, the walkways on the jail. I know it.
What's the issue on the stairways?
Beg your pardon?
You said there was an issue on the stairways? What's the issue on the stairways?
How many square feet is taken up by stairways and walkways?
Okay.
Can I go on?
Yeah, I didn't know what you meant by that. If there was an issue, I just want to know what the issue was.
I wasn't too, but that's okay. Next thing is on the contract. How long is Blaine's contract good for? I mean, we hadn't voted on it yet. How many days is that good for?
Are you talking about the price?
The price.
How long the price is? It's good till.
How long is the price good for?
For December the 12th.
What?
December the 12th.
30 days. December.
30.
And the next question I was how many inmates we got in jail, but Ms. Laws told me we got 255 today. About 20 state inmates. That's all I have.
Let me say something.
Let me, Mr. Chairman, can I mention something here? The question has come up about state inmates and federal inmates. That's not our decision to make. That will be the sheriff's decision to make and his staff. We cannot manage the sheriff and his budget. We can recommend and suggest to him, but once, I mean, the sheriff and his staff will operate the jail, and so if they decide for state inmates, I don't know whether there's anything we can do about that or not. I'll have to check into that.
I don't see the sheriff.
Mr. Reed.
All right, I don't say much, I just listen. But I came in the middle of this, actually toward the end. Y'all had done a lot of research before I knew anything about it. I did try to pick up a little bit and go visit and so forth. This situation with the money, though, is for our county has gotten too big. I don't think this county can handle that. That's my opinion. I like what Mr. Doty's suggestion would be. And I think maybe we need to back off and maybe look at just the jail or maybe look at what he said about connecting the jail with the existing jail. But I don't think we need to spend what's out there right now. Justice Center looks good, but the need in Hamlin County is a jail. You know, we're spending, just like this article here, we're spending a whole lot more for a jail than we are for a school. So I think we need to look at this, back up, and let's see, is this the way we want to go? So that's my opinion. Like I said, I like what Mr. Doty had to say. I've told him that.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Go ahead, Joe. I tell you what, the biggest problem I have is there's no compromise. I don't see any compromise down the pike at all. It seems like architects, they come up figuring, we just go ahead and just patting down, we just keep passing on. But, you know, and really, you know, to start with, it's going to be a 2-story, then it went to a 3-story, and we just keep adding on to it, it seems like. And I don't know how you all feel about it like that, but, you know, if you had cherries growing in the backyard, there's only so many cherries you can pick off the cherry tree. And we just seem like our money just like a cherry tree like that. We just keep picking more, but it's like the cherry tree is about dried up. And, you know, I'm really upset about spending this kind of money too. I mean, I love Hamlin County. I love the people. I've been here over 50 years. All my 4 children grew up here. My grandchildren are growing up here, and they pay taxes. They have homes, and I don't know where it's going to wind up, but I've been a commissioner now 7 years. And I know we've been talking about this jail from the time I've been on this thing altogether. And bottom line is, I've got to commend these particular commissioners we had this time. Because the first time that we're getting something done. Now, it may not be what you like, but everything's gone out of sight, gone crazy. But we need a jail. Now, my thing is, where's the compromise here? How come we can't do some compromise here? Just like you said, with the, if we can save $20 million on the Justice Center, maybe we can remodel and do some stuff like that. Why is that not even brought up, not even considered? You know, where they say, well, maybe you can't remodel something because it's made out of wood or something like that. I don't know. I just think there's some more issues here that need to be addressed and maybe slow up a little bit. I'll tell you, because I'll tell you what. When you go $137 million in debt, all of a sudden, you go from one day that you're not in debt, the next day $137 million in debt, you're in trouble. I feel like you've got an albatross around our neck that's going to be there for a long time, you know. And so I just wish there's some compromise here and somebody willing to understand that and be willing to listen to some of these things instead of just saying sign off for it. Because if we pass that bill, pass that thing next week like that, it's over, you know, and it's scary to me. Anyway, that's me.
Anyone else?
Mr. Chairman, go ahead, Jeff.
I agree. We've got to cut this back. It's a lot more money than this county can sustain. When you look at the national level and you see how things are filtering down in states, counties, and will be basically locked till 2034, I believe that was said. So that's why if we look at another option, say build the jail, and if we're okay to hook it to the old Justice Center, that might even say 40 or 50 million. You know, we need to at least look at it and see. And I think we need to compromise.
Mr. Cutchon.
Mr. Chairman, everybody here is right. You know, there's nobody here that's saying something that's wrong. It's just a different opinion. We all want the best.
for Hamlin County. I see that. I've never said that we couldn't save $30 million, because I believe we could by building less. I don't disagree with the statement. We can save, but is it the right answer today? Is it the right answer? Because just the figure has been thrown around just now, $20 million to save by not building the Justice Center. Okay, let's do that. Let's cut back. Let's not build the Justice Center. And then you spend $8 to $9 million renovating it. A net increase of $11 million. So I'm going to look at this, a 40 to 50 year project for $11 million. Which way am I going? I'm looking at the vision down the road, guys. I don't know what it's going to be. I don't know what the population. I did go with the studies. We started out with 700 to 900 beds. That was the issue. Are we going to build 700 or 900? That was where we started at. Now we whittled that down. I heard it tonight. How many designs? If you were here at the very beginning, we had the designs laid out on this screen. It happened right here in this room. Right here in this room, we looked at these designs. Corruption, bullcrap.
Amen.
I'm sorry. Folks, this is the hardest decision this body's ever made for our county. It's the largest capital project we've ever incurred. Nobody wants to do this. Nobody wants to spend $92 million, but by golly, if we don't do it today, we have to do it somewhere. I think it's cheaper today to bite it off and move forward. That's my opinion. Thank you.
I don't know what it's gone up just in 6 months.
Well, it has gone up. I mean, just in 6 months, it's gone up, folks. I don't want to do this. It may cost me my seat because whatever. I'm doing it because I feel it's the right decision for our county. They talk about safe. I mean, the state fire marshal looked at it, the DNC Corrections Institute. Folks, we can't build something that's not safe.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Call for question, Chairman.
Yes, sir. Next man.
The state fire marshal approved the one-level jail in Coffee County too. And it's 2 pods, 200 men to each pod. In a one-day period, it takes 3 people to watch it. 4 people to watch it. It takes 1 in each one for day shift, only in each pod, 1 roamer. And for the night shift, it takes the same amount of people. It takes 6 people to watch 425 inmates. And theirs is, I got the document from Coffee County. They've got 44 people allocated for that jail, to look out for the jail. If anybody wants to see a copy of it, I'll give them one.
Anyone else?
Mr. Horn, if I might, just real quick, I brought up a point, and Mr. Hone had a differing look at that. I'd just like to ask the county mayor, can this jail be certified if we attach to the old building but house no prisoners there, only courts?
Let's talk about, there's 2 different issues here. One is the juveniles. The juveniles staying in a separate, and the conversation I had with the folks was if there's inmates walking in the hallways, then you can continue to hold. You know, it's not on a routine basis, and that they're supervised. We can continue to operate temporary holding. As far as if we connect the 2 buildings, it's my understanding is that if we don't house in the existing building, then the new building could be certified. But if we house, then neither one of them would be certified.
But as long as we keep prisoners in the new jail, then it could be certified with us having a corridor using the existing Justice Center as a courtrooms.
That's my understanding.
Would you
Thank you, sir.
make sure that TCI has a representative here on the 18th?
Yes.
Is that including
Because they're the
juveniles?
ones
Oh, I'm
that can
sorry.
turn us down, and we want to make sure.
Juveniles over there.
Yes. Oh, no, not for that part of it. We can still house those because they're not housed in the bad section. They're only housed in the section that does.
Everybody, don't just tell me, tell everybody. So the juveniles, that won't be a barrier to being able to connect.
Housing them would not count as housing.
Said no
because-
inmates could be in there. What about the juveniles? Would that interfere?
The juveniles can, the
Yeah, they
way
can-
I understand it, I mean, I'll clarify.
Okay.
But is that the juveniles we can continue to use temporary holding. And they're there no longer than 72 hours at a time. It's temporary. So it's not long-term.
And my understanding, Mayor, just real quick, is that what would have gotten us decertified is the section that was built on, as they call the annex there for years, that has wood in the construction. That would be what would cause us to not be, but as long as we don't house prisoners.
That's my understanding, yes.
Thank you, sir.
Bill, when we first started this, and I was the jail chairman, the jail study chairman, it came to our attention as a committee that we could not build over there because of the underground caverns and everything that may be under the building. And that if we did attach the new building to the old building, you wouldn't bring the old building certification up, you would lower the new building. It can't possibly be certified.
What I don't remember the caverns conversation. What I remember, the key item that changed the scope of this project was when TCI came in and said we could not use the top floor of the annex for housing because it was not made out of corrections grade material. It had a roof and it had wood roof and trusses, and those have to be made out of steel. And so it was the decision of this body. I mean, to use that building, you would have to torn off that second floor and start it over. And it was the decision of this body is to instead of spending money on that, is spend it on a new facility.
Mayor, is there any structural damage right now to the old facility?
We had a structural assessment done by an engineer when we started this process back in 2014, 2015. And there is some need to strengthen I haven't looked at the study, but basically it's like pull the building together. And there is that need for the 1979 building.
Would that take care of the cracks? I know the sheriff showed us some pictures of some real serious cracks where you could see straight outside. Would that wrapping that building take care of those cracks?
That's what the engineers.
Okay. Okay.
I remember that study. It cost us $9,000 to do it, and his last statement was fixing the roof, probably putting a cable and a turnbuckle, pulling it in where it don't keep spreading out. We could use that jail in it. We could do whatever we wanted to with it. It was good. It was good. As far as he was concerned, it was good to go. I've still got the article if I want to read it.
I mean, the study, you guys have the study. It's in your book.
Do we still have storage stuff in the attic?
Yes.
And that,
We don't have as much, but we still have some.
but that would improve the situation if we had all of that out of there.
That would help. That would help the situation.
I'd like to add just one other thing. This article is great, and I appreciate you guys for bringing it. But when this article was written in 2017, our plans on this $35 million was to attach to the building that we have, because structural engineers said if we do this work, then it will be safe. TCI then came in and said we couldn't certify it because of the roof and the construction in the annex. That's why this 35 million increased dramatically, was because we went from utilizing part of the cells and area that we have in the existing Justice Center jail to not being able to use them at all and having to replace every one of them.
Plus the workhouse.
Plus the workhouse and everything else. I would love to see us get back to this. I don't think there's any way possible that we can get down to this number. And like Commissioner Cutshaw was saying, when this started, it was, do we want to spend house 700 or 900? And we did cut it down. We have dwindled it down. We were looking at 3 separate buildings because of having the worker lease over in one, the jail here and the new jail, and trying to, logistically, a nightmare. We have looked at all that, and speaking as a mechanic, doing industrial mechanical work for the last 30-plus years, every contractor I've talked to, and I've asked many, will tell you it is cheaper to build up than it is out. And it's the same square footage as far as per inmate, like Mr. Neesmith said, whether it's 1 or 4 levels, you're still building square footage. And they're telling me that it is cheaper. And I only have to go by what they tell me. They're the experts. And just one real quick thing, Ms. Howell brought up wanting to utilize the technology. Man, we've even looked into that as far as the corrections officers will not have to utilize a manual shutoff to shut off water if there's a flood or numerous other things, because we're using solenoid controlled valving. So they'll be able to push a button at the control panel to shut that water off. So which would cut down dramatically on those numbers that we're required to staff, because we're utilizing every bit of new technology that we can. And folks, we've tried this, we have. I'm still against spending that kind of money. I hope we could come to an agreement, and as Mr. Huntsman said, a little give and take somewhere, but in the end, we do have to build a jail in this county, and we do have to do it for the future.
I've got some comments here. I don't say a whole lot, but this was already started when I came on as commissioner. I've been listening and seeing this been changed. We've had changes in May to now. Instead of being less, it's more. I don't like the idea of having to borrow this kind of money either, but we have got to have a jail that's been put off and put off and put off. It's too long. It's time we did something and get this going. Because those people are, if you've been to the jail, look at it, what they have to live in. I know they've done stuff wrong, but they don't need to be treated like that. So we need to move on with getting this jail. My opinion.
Mr. Lord. When we get back to designing this thing and getting ready to go forward with it, we've got to remember one thing, and that's staffing. We initially were looking at something that we couldn't possibly come up with the qualified people to run it. And if we're not careful in designing it, we're going to be right back where we were to start with and have a nice, beautiful jail out in the middle of nowhere and nobody to put in it to run it. And these people ain't going to take care of themselves when they're in there. No, we got to take care of them. So we may have to go back to the drawing board and look at some things like the wagon wheel concept for one. And before we bite off more than we can chew, we need to take another look at it.
Mr. DeBoer.
Mr. Chairman, did I not hear the sample or the example that we've been talked to about Coffee County for multiple years now? We've all gone down and looked at it. We liked what we saw. It was great that they built it when they built it because it saved them a lot of money. If we had not been fighting this and pushing it off, we could have saved a lot of money if we had just done it earlier. However, did I not understand that they are now at capacity and they're going to have to add on to that jail?
They've been at capacity during the past 6 months. Yeah.
Do we have any type of figures of what they're going to spend now in addition to that? And is that relative to what they spent? They won't get the number of beds that they got when they built it the last time because those prices are no longer there. Is that correct?
They would spend, from what one of their staff persons told me, their chief deputy told me, is that they're looking, let's say 3 to 5 years down the road, building the third pod for the cost of what they built 2 for. That's what he told me.
Meaning that things have doubled.
Along your lines, Randy, we've never studied a one-story jail. We've talked about it one-on-one. The only, you can check your records, the only thing that's come out on this one-story thing is Mr. Shipley said, well, that one cell deal is out because they do not have a justice center. That's the only thing that's been brought. We have no figures, no numbers, how much it's gonna cost. We have nothing on it. You don't have a comparison. We don't have one.
Well, come up with something, Wayne.
I'm not on the committee.
You are.
Everybody is.
Everybody's on the committee.
Okay, I'm gonna see if I can get Coffee County Sheriff and Bubba and the mayor to come up here at our next meeting then. How's that?
Well, if that would be okay with me, but.
They told me twice they'd come up anytime they want us to.
We've had some criticism tonight about, basically, if I understood it correctly, that we did not involve the sheriff staff or the jail staff in the planning process. Would you explain that process?
Yes, when we formed, I guess it's been 3 years ago now, when we formed the design committee, I talked to the sheriff, asked who he wanted on the committee, and he recommended as jail administrator Captain Laws and Lieutenant Hamrick at the time, and they were there since day one. They've been involved since day one.
Okay.
So.
Thank you.
And also, for court security, we've had the court security folks involved in looking at the design and reviewing the design, making sure that the courtrooms would be safe and the maneuvering prisoners would be safe, and so they've been involved in the process. Every department has been involved in this process. One thing I would like to bring up, there's been a lot of talk about courtrooms and eliminating the courtrooms, and let me just mention something to you. It is with COVID and with the pretrial lawsuit and what's going on now to meet the requirements under the judge, one of the judge's first decisions is we require more court time and court space. The only courtroom that meets the needs of, and you can talk to Judge Snyder about this if you would like, to meet Judge Snyder's need for juvenile court is this courtroom. And she takes this courtroom at least 2 days a week, at least. Then you have Chancery, and then you have child support court, but the little courtrooms cannot be used because they're too small for the people that would have to use those courtrooms and keep a safe distance. And I'm not talking 6 feet necessarily. So in this building, we have really one courtroom that is functional. Now, in the Justice Center, well, and let me back up. And then in the design of the new building, I thought Judge Snyder had a great idea when we were talking about eliminating or shelling in one courtroom, is that she would move juvenile court into the big courtroom in the Justice Center, which also houses juvenile court services right across the hall. And so juvenile court services won't be jumping from building to building like they are now. And so it's consolidating operations for juvenile court. And there's room, Judge Collins's courtroom would be used as a staging area, which was an area that was being shelled in the new building. And the big courtroom would be used with minor, maybe new flooring, maybe new paint. The big courtroom would be used for juvenile and civil court that Judge Snyder has. And then you have 2 courtrooms in the new building, one for Judge Collins and one for criminal and circuit. And there's also in the design as well, because of the lawsuit, Judge Collins is talking about a law change. We've talked about a law change that would allow the magistrates, which you guys have funded. Right now, they do not have the authority to change bonds. Only a judge can do that. So right now, Judge Collins is starting court. He's starting bail hearings, and he's starting them at 9 o'clock and not getting to his court docket till 11. And at 8 o'clock, or right around 8 o'clock, is when he does the video visit, not video visitation, but video arraignment. So there's more court time now required. And so that there's a greater need now than there was a year ago, well, let's say a year and a half ago, pre-COVID, for court space. And I'm with you all as far as the cost of this project, but there's a need. There's a need now, and definitely a need in the future. Also, let me talk a little bit about, there's been a lot of discussion about our economy and how bad it is. And I can tell you right now, there's 90 counties in Tennessee that'd love to have the economy we have. We have right now 7 manufacturing companies. They're expanding over the next 3 years. You have Van Huel that will begin operation in 2024. You have next month you'll be presented with a retail development, a plan for a retail development, which will ask the city and county for tax increment financing. That'll bring a strip center and 2 big box stores to the west end of the county. You have sales tax that's growing between 8 and 10%. You have you've got a lot of good economic activity going on. Last Tuesday, after our meeting on Monday, I had a hearing or a telephone call with Moody's bond rating service. They're the ones who rate our bonds, how credit worthy is our debt, and we are currently at AA3, which is strong for a county our size. And we had the discussion. He asked a lot of tough questions. We answered questions about economic activity. We told him and showed him the graphs about how we grew fund balance last year by $2.8 million. How our debt service will finish, finish this year or last year with about a $9 million fund balance, and next year with a $12 million fund balance, preparing for the bond issues. And they were impressed with the numbers, with the facts. And so when we get our rating, we won't submit it to the rating committee until, or if the contract is signed. We expect at the very minimum that our bond rating will stay the same at AA3. So the bond rating agencies recognize the strength of our economy. We have a lot of good things going on in our economy. So, and also, just one thing too, the concern, and rightfully so, for our seniors, and tax increases for our seniors, and the impact on our seniors. Well, several years ago, 15 years ago, the county commission adopted the tax freeze program. And it was part of the tax relief program for seniors and those disabled. And anyone who qualifies for the tax relief program, which is, my last count was about 1,200 property owners. Their taxes are frozen at the current rate. If taxes go up because of staffing or whatever, they don't have a tax increase. From their taxes stay the same. That's part of the tax freeze program. So we are part of that. We adopted that years ago, and
Mayor Brennan, can you address the insurance issues as far as liability against not having a jail that meets the expectations?
yeah, we've had our liability insurance carrier, 2 of them have dropped us because of the number of lawsuits that we've had over with the conditions of the jail and it being decertified. And then we have, the company we have now, they check on us from time to time where we are in this process. So,
And how long has that been in the process? How long has it been since we lost that first, those 2 insurance?
5 years ago,
Okay.
4 or 5 years ago.
We lost our certification almost 12 years ago.
2010.
Yeah, 2010.
About a week before I took office.
And if we were to take the existing building and remodel that to bring it up to where we would have we looked at the cost differential there?
As far as to hold prisoners?
Well, can't, right? Because that's not going to meet the requirement. But is there a way, what's the cost going to be even if we change the purpose of it?
Let's say we have not priced making it more sound.
Yeah.
Okay. We have not, as far as the roofing structure and that, we haven't priced that. As far as renovating we would need new public restrooms for sure. And if we don't build the courtrooms, one thing that hadn't been mentioned a whole lot during these discussions is with building the courtrooms, is we're also making space available for the sheriff's department. And right now the sheriff's department, I think Captain Mullins' office is in a closet, or close to it, or has been, or some of his folks are. And so there's a need for space for the sheriff's department, and it takes care of that without building a new building for the sheriff's department. We renovate space, we give them more space, and they can continue using the upstairs. Downstairs will be converted to storage. We could use the downstairs of the annex for a transitional program like Jail to Work for Guys. You have a kitchen there, you have laundry there. That's got a lot of potential there. Upstairs could be used for training. There's a need for training for both jail staff and sheriff's department staff.
One of the things that concerns me, Mayor, is the transport of prisoners from the jail to the courtrooms, if the courtrooms stay in the whole building. The last time I was over there, those inmates were brought down the hallway with all kinds of citizens. They could have easily transferred drugs to them. And if one of those prisoners should happen to get a gun off of an officer, and we read about this happening in courtrooms, we would have a tragic situation. And in the new facility, they have no contact whatsoever with the public.
That's correct. They're the way the current design is the prisoners and the public and the judiciary are all segregated. And The only time they're in the same room together is when they're in the courtroom. So the design of the Justice Center, meaning the court area as well as the jail part, is focused on safety, by space, by the security of the cells themselves, the way they're manufactured, the two-bed cells, and where you can manage. If you need to put somebody who doesn't play well with others in one cell by himself, you can do that. And so it gives the jail administration all kinds of flexibility to manage the jail they want, keeps their jail corrections officers safe, it keeps the public safe, it keeps the judges safe.
And if we move the files from their current location in the roof of that building, where would they go?
Several of them have been moved to the building down here where Teresa West has put in filing systems in what used to be the unemployment building, that on the corner down there.
What capacity is left in that? Very
There's
little.
not a whole lot left.
And we actually need that space to make this whole facility secure, because our security have been on our backs about that, and the mayor has tried to plan for that for 3 or 4 years.
So that we move the primary entrance to this building would be the breezeway.
Okay.
And you take a right to come in the courthouse and a left to get your car tax. Pay your taxes. So there's a reason, and for every item you guys have discussed has been addressed during this process over the last 3 years. And we've discussed it more than once. The folks who used that space have been involved. This isn't something that we've done and we've just kind of thrown darts at the wall and say, you know, that's our choice. That hadn't happened. We've had TCI in since day one. We've had Jim Hart involved with CTAS very early. You have Todd Davis from Mosley, who's a former jail administrator and is a jail consultant, involved since day one. We've had people who know what they're doing go through this process. And I'll stand here tonight and tell you we need the courtrooms. I'll speak for the judges. We need the courtrooms. And you have to remember that this design with the latest bid has 2 courtrooms. One's shelled, the third one is shelled, but we've got the criminal courtroom and we've got the General Sessions criminal courtroom completed. So.
Any other questions?
I just want to make a comment when I can. When I ran for Commissioner in District 10, the number one concern was the conditions of the roads. My big concern and worry about this type of outlay of money, there may not be hardly any money left to take care of the infrastructure of the road, the condition of the roads. They're in horrible condition. I get called a lot about the roads. They're literally beating the suspensions out of the cars. So it's that, and that was their number one concern when I ran. So that's one of the things that I've been thinking a lot about.
Anyone else? Not moving forward. Item 3A, old business, there is none. Item 4A, the contract with Blaine Construction Company, and that is to put it on the commission agenda, and I'll need a motion for that.
Put it in form of motion.
Have a motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Have a second. You want to call the roll on that?
Jeff Akerd,
No.
Eileen Arnline,
Yes.
Chris Cutshaw,
Yes.
Randy DeBoard,
Yes.
Thomas Doty,
No.
Tim Goins,
Aye.
Bobby Hahn,
Aye.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Joe Huntsman,
No.
Wayne Neesmith,
No.
Mike Reed,
No.
Howard Shipley,
Yes.
Jim Stepp,
Yes.
Taylor Ward,
No.
6 no. 8 yes. Would be on the agenda.
What you say?
8 yes, 6 no.
Motion passes. Item 4B, the Resolution 21, authorizing the insurance of general obligation bonds of Hamlin County, Tennessee, in the aggregate principal amount of not to exceed $10 million, and I'll need a motion on that.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goins. Yes,
Now, the motion, put it on the agenda.
on the agenda. Call the roll.
Jeff Akerd,
No.
Eileen Arnline,
Yes.
Chris Cutshaw,
Aye.
Randy DeBoard,
Yes.
Thomas Doty,
No.
Tim Goins,
Aye.
Bobby Hahn,
Aye.
Tim Horner,
Yes.
Joe Huntsman,
Yes.
Wayne Neesmith,
No.
Mike Reed,
No.
Howard Shipley,
Yes.
Jim Stepp,
Yes.
Taylor Ward,
No.
5 no, 9 yes.
Motion passes. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Horner. At this time, we recognize Chairman Randy DeBoard of the Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to call the Finance Committee to order. Do we have any visitors wishing to address the committee? In old business, we have none. In new business, 5A, resolution authorizing Hamlin County to join the state of Tennessee and other local governments as participants in the Tennessee State Subdivision Opioid Abatement Agreement and approving the related settlement agreements. And Mayor Britton?
Good news in the area of the opioid lawsuits. One is if you recall, the Endo pharmaceutical lawsuit that was settled with the counties in the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd judicial districts. We received our $1.8 million on Friday. So it's in the bank. The money from the settlement that goes to Hamlin County is in the bank, and we have that. Now, this is the next step in our battle against the opioid manufacturers and distributors. The state of Tennessee has joined other states, a majority, I think 35 to 40 other states in a lawsuit against the three of the distributors and then the manufacturer in Johnson & Johnson. And they are working right now negotiating a settlement. And what those companies are wanting is they want agreements from as many states and local governments as possible to agree to participate in a settlement and then forego any other litigation that they would have against those companies. So what the State Attorney General's office is asking counties in Tennessee, counties and cities, is to join the state in its acceptance of the settlement. And what that also means in the terms of the settlement is the more local government and state participation, the more money will go into the settlement from the companies. So by us joining with other counties in Tennessee and Tennessee joining other states in the country, then There'll be, the settlement will be finalized quicker and with more money paid by the companies. So I'm recommending, and what this resolution does is primarily authorize me, representing the county, to sign any settlement that the state agrees to.
Do we have a motion to approve?
I'll make that motion. Or
Got a
second.
motion, do we have a second? Mr. Cutshaw made the motion.
Mayor,
Mr. Goins?
could you reiterate, please, that you said that at this point you feel like this is our best bet or the most money you expect? They're looking to do the best they can here.
Yes,
That
definitely.
rather than on our own or something like that.
We could not, we,
I understand.
Hamlin County, could not do
I
it.
understand. I just wanted that reiterated that I heard it correctly.
Yeah.
We have a motion and a second. Do we have any further discussion?
Yeah, buddy.
If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. I want to go back to number 3. If I may, I'll finish 5 and then go back to 3.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, on 5B, surplus of tasers to Hancock County, and Chad Mullins is
These are old tasers that last budget when we changed to the new ones, we surplus these, but we're going to give them to the police department, which they would just be laying around for extra. After speaking with Sheriff Brewer, they're in a need of them, and I was wanting to see if we could donate our old ones that's just in our storage container that we cannot use anymore to Hancock County so they can use them.
and that's in lieu of the existing to the city.
Yes.
Okay. And is there any liability involved in the passing of those?
They will not be none to us.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve?
So moved.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
Taylor Ward?
Taylor Ward, second.
Any discussion? Yes, that's right. Who is, Mr. Goins? Mr. Goins, second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 5C, budget amendments for finance director. Is Ms. Hurst here tonight? Yeah, we'll do Hamlin County, Ms. Antrican. This is a Hamlin County Board of Education Budget Amendment 2 to increase $223,580.73 for Hamlin County Board of Education. Ms. Antrican.
This amendment that the board requests approval of tonight is the Safe Schools grant that we receive annually from the state of Tennessee. This grant allows the school district to provide professional development for staff, school resource officers, to fund our SRO contract, and to provide safety-related equipment for the district, such as surveillance equipment, screens for the classrooms, shades for the classrooms, two-way radios, that type of equipment. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Those two-way radios, are those for the teachers or for the SR, for the teachers?
And the SROs.
No, gotta have somebody on the other end.
That's right.
Motion to approve, Mr. Chairman.
We got a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. Item 5C, Fund 101 for EMA, that's for $2,300. Mayor Britton.
This is a budget amendment to move money from our employee benefit area of the budget and liability insurance, where we have some extra funds, to the EMA budget to provide insurance for EMA volunteers. And what this insurance does is if they are injured in doing any kind of event, or mostly what the volunteers do now is they will direct traffic, man intersections during public events like the Christmas parade. They'll be out during the Christmas parade, probably out Thursday night, the Veterans Parade. a veteran. And so if they get hurt, then this would provide them with medical coverage up to $50,000, also death and dismemberment insurance up to, I think, $25,000. And also if they are working and they're not retired and they are hurt and miss work, this will also cover some lost wages. So this covers, it's part of our risk management program, really. It kind of reduces our liability when it comes to these volunteers if they get hurt on county business.
After I spoke to Chris Bell, he said it was to cover about 15 employees.
Right.
And that comes out to average cost of $12.77. That's a pretty good investment for volunteer labor.
Yeah, it's a pretty good deal.
Do you have a motion to approve?
So moved.
Got a motion, do we have a second? Motion and a second, any further discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. We're going to go back to item number 3 because I passed it up. The expenditure reports are in your packets. Do we have a motion to accept the checks as submitted by the county mayor?
So moved.
We got a motion, we got a second?
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Motion carries. And that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman of the Board. At this time, the Chair will recognize Chairman Tim Goins of the Public Service Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Anybody wishing to address the Public Service Committee? Seeing none. Item 4A, resolution authorizing Hamilton County to make the 2022 Community Development Block Grant application. Mayor?
Commission, we use our CDBG grants to help fund the new fire trucks for our volunteer fire departments. We have supplied East one, West should get theirs this spring, and so it's time to start with the next department, and that's South. And so Kevin is here, the chief, if you have any questions for him, but the resolution shows you that we, being the county, does supply a match for the CDBG, but the volunteer fire departments supply $10,000 of that match, each one of them, and that's part of the commitment they signed a few years ago when we started this. So this resolution would give us the authority to apply for the grant for a truck for the South Volunteer Fire Department.
Do I have a motion?
Motion.
You motion second?
Yeah,
I will
it's fine.
second. Any discussion?
Just one from me, Mr. Chairman, I'm not on this committee, but just a real quick heads up, I've been with the Volunteer Fire Service, many departments over the years, and been a part of getting grants for trucks and how hard it is and the struggle. These fire departments basically are selfless. They give everything they can give. They give their own time, they give their own money to do something for our community. And I just think it's great, and I appreciate County Mayor for working towards this to try to help them out with this, because, like I said, again, it's thankless, but they do a remarkable job with what they have to do with.
Yes.
Do I have anybody else? All in favor, make motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Item 4B, resolution existing metropolitan planning organization shall remain or grandfathered and not be subject to the proposed 2020 United States Census housing unit density threshold. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, what this basically does is there's a proposal from the U.S. Census Bureau that would change the way that metropolitan transportation planning organizations are organized. How many people, in this case, how many housing units, the density of the housing units, are in a certain area for an area to get a municipal, what's called an MPO designation. Right now, since I think it's either 1990 or 2000, Morristown, Hamlin County, White Pine, Jefferson County, the latest edition was New Market, are in an MPO, which federal highway dollars come to this MPO and are distributed and fund different highway projects. And that you've seen a lot of the paving along West AJ Highway has come through there on all the way to the Jefferson County line, all the way to Crescent Center. Those are monies that have flowed through the MPO and as well as others. Now, what this resolution does is primarily put us on record that we are against the Census Bureau's proposal that would change the way that MPOs are determined, and so that we wouldn't lose that designation.
Okay, do I have a motion?
So moved.
Who is it, Tim?
Second.
I'll second.
Bobby? Bobby got it.
Okay.
All in favor, make a motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Item 4C, approval of the 2022 regulatory scheduled meeting calendar of the Hamlin County Commission committees. Mayor?
Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the calendar with one exception. On February, the committee meetings are scheduled on this calendar for February the 14th, which is Valentine's Day. I would move that we strike 14 and say February the 15th.
It's my birthday, Howard.
Huh?
It's my birthday. I was planning on having a party that day. Now I gotta come to commission meeting.
All in favor? Excuse me, let me back up. Second. You made a motion, second? Do we have a second?
Second.
Second. All in favor of the change, make a motion by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Chairman. So it's 15.
Thank you, Chairman Goins. At this time, the chair will recognize Chairman James Stepp of the Calendar and Rules Committee.
Thank you, Chairman. Call to order the Calendar and Rules Committee. Any visitors wishing to address the committee have 5 minutes to do so.
Woodella Road, Morristown. At the previous meeting, I was going to address an issue concerning 2 pieces of paper, one of them with rules, another one with an agenda. And Mr. Shipley, you started, well, the rules say this, and I wasn't going to argue that. All I want to do is make the point of if y'all are going to put out 2 pieces of paper, you need to make sure they both say the same thing. During that rigmarole that went back and forth, Mr. Doty made a remark that we need some decorum in here, and we do. I agree with that. But a person should also be allowed to come up here and speak of something that is factual. As long as they don't use any type of foul language, they should be allowed to speak as they see fit for them to speak. I don't think it violates decorum to come up here and say something that may offend somebody else if it's the truth. Over a year ago, I came up here and spoke about a man that I went to his house and worked, and he was building his own house. And I talked about how that the permit system was just driving him crazy because he was doing his house over a period of time, paying as he goes, so he'd have no debt. And one of the commissioners afterward come up and talk to me about it. I'm going to talk to him about it. I'm going to contact him. Okay, good. Well, the next time I seen that commissioner, 2 weeks later, he told me, yep, I contacted him, and he said he wasn't having no problems. Well, what I didn't reveal in that meeting is that that man that I was talking about got to be my best friend. I spend a lot of time at his house. He spends a lot of time at my house. And at the time that commissioner called him, I was sitting in Mr. Lawson's house in his living room. So though I didn't hear both sides of the conversation, I did hear what Mr. Lawson told him, And no, he didn't tell him that the permit system was okay. So that commissioner directly, out and out blatantly lied to me. But I never come in here and called that commissioner a liar. But that was a factual truth, so maybe I should have. So, Mr. Stepp, you directly lied about that, sir. You are a liar, because that is not what that man said.
Anyone else?
Karen Arwood, 1501 Eller Road. Seeing as this is the Calendar and Rules Committee, seemingly there are several of you here that are way more worried about the rules that those of us in the public on this side have to follow. I've never worked anywhere in my entire career to where my employees made my rules. Employees don't make the boss's rules. Usually it's the other way around. So then therefore at your little special called meeting, you didn't even know your own rules regarding the 10-day rule. And I reiterate, did you ask the mayor? You did. Ask the mayor about what? My God, you're the chairman, and you don't even know your rules, but boy, you sure know the rules about us on this side. So I just suggest, highly suggest, I don't know if you've got your own rules, laws, however, that you have to abide by.
Point of order, Mary. I don't think that's on the agenda.
This has to do with your rules, review of regular rules, regular review of consent. You got a problem with
No, ma'am,
having
just,
following your rules and knowing what they are?
What's on the agenda here?
Really
I don't
quick.
see that.
When's it ever going to be on the agenda? You know what? You're even my own my.
You know, we're not
district
here for an argument
commissioner.
session, Chairman.
No.
I think we need to address this thing.
Chad, you want to cart me out of here? See, thank you. So hear me out. Get your rules together, get them consolidated, get them in some kind of print, and each and every one of you know what your rules are. And you, as my own, I can't contact you because you never ever pay a bit of attention to me because there is a deep set hatred both directions. I know it.
Anyone else?
My name is Tony Strazullo. So, we get the opportunity to talk about the rules again. Last meeting, we definitely showed that the commissioners sitting up here do not know, number one, what a rule is. Number two, what the rules are. You don't have rules so that you could just vote them towards the side when you disagree with them, when they fit your agenda.
Mr. Cirillo, point of order, that's not on the agenda, on the rules.
Sure it is.
Not on the agenda.
You all don't know the rules. That's on the agenda. That's part of the rules. That's why we need to talk about the rules.
The jail and Justice Center.
So, the rules have to do.
Mr. Cirillo, would you just please go by the rules, please. And the rules are that we have down, that you go by what's on the agenda.
There's no such thing as rules for the jail. You're talking about rules. What would you like to talk about? What is the focus of your agenda tonight? The rules. I get to talk about the rules. And lack of the rules. Not a specific part of what Jim Stepp wants me to talk about on the rules. Because let's talk about the rules, Jim Stepp. You guys want the cameras in the back, but you have media sitting on your side.
Tony.
Okay? I haven't said anything about that.
Tony.
Chairman.
Tony.
Rules. I'm a citizen.
No.
I'm talking
No,
about the
no,
rules.
No. I don't want to get in an argument with you at all, but the new business, the items of business, the discussion is on items on the agenda only. The regular calendar items and the consent calendar items. You can address those comments.
So
Whenever the Rules Committee meets, that's an excellent time for you to address.
Why would we we're bringing it up now? You guys don't have that meeting. Now is the time to address that.
Now, you can address the regular calendar items and the consent items. That's what the public comments are about tonight. So I'm sorry.
If you want to address those, you can address those at the end of the county commission, full commission meeting on that Thursday.
No, it's supposed to be addressed during the committee meetings, not during the commission meetings. That's what everybody keeps saying. You talk during the committee meetings, not during the commission meetings. Work gets done in the commission meetings. Voting gets done in the committee meetings. We have to figure this out. Rules. If y'all had this on paper, we'd know when we'd be able to figure this out. No, they would just vote to change it, just like today. We're here to talk about rules, and I have to speak about a specific rule that doesn't exist. So I'm going to continue. So you all play the rule game according to you guys. When you have media, somebody from media sitting on the other side getting special treatment, allowed to go in and out that door, nobody says anything to them, but you have two other people of the citizens that are recording, and there's an issue with that. There's a
Point of order,
problem.
Mr. Chairman. We have
Thank you.
covered this, we have discussed this, we have ruled on this.
You've ruled on what? That you're going to have a lawyer, a judge, come in here or rule on it, and we haven't had that. I want to know why my rights are being violated. You're allowing somebody to sit up there that has the same right to media as I do, and I get my rights violated, Bobby. That's messed up.
What right has been violated?
You guys tried twice in the past few weeks to get me to go in the back of the room. That is a violation of my rights. You didn't tell him to go in the back of the room. You allowed him to do his thing. He was leaning over the balcony taking photographs a few weeks ago. Nobody said anything. I wouldn't open my mouth either, Bobby. There's nothing to say. There's nothing that's going to come out of your mouth that's going to make the
You want the rules? That's
Point of
in one
order,
of the
Mr.
rules,
Zilio.
and you all will not abide by them.
For this gentleman to be over here and not be
Part
treated
of the
like
media,
rest?
he can do it.
No, he's not. I'm part of the media too, Tim, asshole.
Hey, right now, right now.
Profanity not allowed.
Step back. Check the First Amendment.
Sit down.
See what you're
Ken,
doing?
I will
sit you down I have
myself.
already found out.
I tell you, you need to move him out of this. You need to move him out
No,
now.
just like you're allowed to
You
say
need to
bitch
move him out
fest,
now.
I'm allowed to say asshole. It's protected by the Constitution. First Amendment right.
Yeah, well, I'll tell you something.
Yes.
The Fourth U.S. Circuit Court of Appeals says
All right.
you have the right to speak, but you do not have the right to disparage people from the podium, and that's exactly what you've done.
That's not what I did.
That's exactly what you did. You don't think that's disparaging?
No, it's not.
You're out of your mind.
He can call people a bitch fest, and that's okay. That's what I'm talking about. The two full-face rules. You want the rules to go on your side, but not on our side. If somebody can call this a bitch fest, we're allowed to say the same thing back.
Adjourn the meeting. You take him out of here.
Adjourn. Adjourn. Let's do this. Let's adjourn.
Okay.
Because last week he tried to kick me out of the meeting when after the
Nobody
meeting when
kicked you
somebody
out of
was
the
up
meeting.
there. You told me to leave. It's on video.
You don't need to be past the podium.
Well, and there was somebody else right there that you walked by because you couldn't get him to do what you wanted him to do. You turned around and you
Meeting
walked
adjourned.
away.
They're going to let him stay in here. I'm
Time is up.
Yep, time is up. Bunch of jokers out here.
Time
I
is
want
up.
you to know the Ninth Circuit Court ruled last year that it is against the law, cruel and unusual punishment for homeless people to be kicked off of private or public property. I want you to know that as people get evicted from their homes because you are increasing the taxes, I hope they go and put tents in front of your all's houses and live on this facility right here for the government to see.
He's got to go. Chad, he's got to go.
Yep, need to go. There you go. Meeting's
No, the meeting's
adjourned.
not adjourned.
Congratulations.
The meeting's not adjourned because we have we've got to approve the regular and the consent calendar. Mr. Chairman, I move that we approve the regular and consent calendar.
I have a
Second.
motion. Do I have a
We got
second?
a
Do I have a
Second.
second? I have a second.
I'm sorry, Ms. Noe, the comments are over with.
Don't start that. That is First Amendment. I can't even speak at all.
Can we vote on this?
Your
Mr.
buddy
Chairman?
over here put an end around.
Say that either.
Buddy's all right.
Okay, you got a motion and you got a second, and then we'll listen to Ms. Noe tell us how we need to do it.
What's your,
But you
no,
go
I
ahead.
want to speak before this motion goes.
No, we've already got a motion.
You're out of order.
Let her speak, let her speak.
Go ahead.
Very smart
the
on your
timer.
part.
Let her speak.
Yes, I'm accepted.
You got the calendar, the clock going?
Are people just gonna stand around, or you don't wanna leave, or
Probably.
what?
Go ahead, Miss Noe. You got 5 minutes, ma'am.
You got 5 minutes?
I know I do, thank you. What I want to know, what I'm asking you to do with your regular calendar in the Justice Center Jail Committee is move A and B down to B and C. And for A, have a referendum either in February, March, April, or May with the regular primary, and hold off on A and B depending on the outcome of that referendum. So my request on your calendar and rules is put a new A to have a referendum on the bond issue or issues, either one, and move A, Blaine contract, and B, the resolution. Move those to B and C. And if A passes, then B and C, there's no vote, because you would be waiting on a referendum. You would be letting the people vote. You loved it when they voted for you. Let them vote on this $100 million project that can wait. You keep talking about, oh, prices may go up. You know what? They may go down, too. We don't know. We don't have a crystal ball, just like you don't have a crystal ball for 50 years. Please put that on, and I know then it will require a vote in the commission, but I want to see how you'll vote on that. I think the people need to see how you vote on whether you'll let them vote or whether you're going to ram this through without even looking at the one-level jail. All these statements, oh, it's not this, it's not that, it blah, 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 blah. Get the facts and figures, the real facts and figures. And I appreciate you, Mr. Neesmith. I hope you are able to get facts and figures the best you can without any help from anyone else. Thank you.
Item 3A, we have no old business. Item 4A, review of regular calendar items with the addition of 8C of the change of calendar. I have a motion.
So moved.
A motion, do I have a second? Got a second, Tim Horner, any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. 4B, review of calendar, consent calendar items. Do I have a motion? So moved. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you, Chairman Stepp. I've been asked to make the following announcement. The Veterans Day Parade will be Thursday, November the 11th. It will start at 5:30 p.m. from the Elks Lodge parking lot on East Main Street. The lineup starts at 4:45 p.m. at the Elks Lodge. Anyone can be in the parade. There's no cost to march. The parade will march through downtown North on North Jackson Street to County Courthouse for a ceremony approximately at 6:30 p.m. If any of you commissioners plan to be in the Christmas parade, you need to let Trish know tonight before you leave that you're going to be in the Christmas parade. That's all I have. Don't forget to leave your notebooks. We stand adjourned.